So hi everyone, sorry in advance if the audio might be a little different compared to how I normally do it. My normal sound recorder is not registering anymore, so I am having to record my audio through OBS, which I use to also record my videos through. But yeah, so just there's that. So if there's too much of a thing there, again, sorry making it in advance. Hopefully, by the time this video goes up, I have everything fixed or even a new setup. Who knows? So it's time for the spooples. It's time for October, guys. We're here. We are in my wedding month. We are in the month of spooples. We are we are in October. And just so you guys know, almost all of the video footage I've made for this month I've done way in advance, same with the audio. So if things might be a little outdated or I do references to something, it's because it probably just happened and or yeah, no, yeah, you get the point. Anyway, it's a story time video. People seem to love my story times, and boy, do I have a Halloween story time for you. So this is going to be the story of my worst Halloween ever, and I'm gonna go into detail of my best Halloween ever. Hopefully later on this month, if I get to recording it. If not, I'll see if I can get some of Cody to do some fun stuff. But let's get into the nitty gritty. That's what you guys like. All right, so I need to explain a couple things first. Like I do for all my story times, I'm always very transparent. I try to rename names, da da da. But this happened about 2 years ago. It was the second Halloween of us living with my in-laws, and living with Cody's parents, my in-laws. And as I've stated many times, they live in a very, 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 very rich neighborhood. And it's actually really jarring. I remember my first Halloween there, I was shocked because there are like no kids in this neighborhood. None. It's all really, really rich retired people out here, and then there's my in laws, there's always got to be the one odd one out. And there were never kids unless they were like grandkids visiting or they were in situations like Cody and I were in where, financial struggles hit and we were forced to live with our parents still, which sucks, but it's not the point of this video now, is it? So, my very first Halloween there, I was shocked because people would literally ship their kids in where they would go and do, because this whole neighborhood would go all out, and I mean the whole neighborhood, not just like the block, but the whole section. I don't want to, name where it is, but it just, the whole place, it was always full. They would have bounce houses, they would have little haunted houses set up, they would do like giveaways, they would have food trucks, they would pretty much everything you'd expect in a rich neighborhood, which, growing up where I did, never expected that. So this place gets crazy on Halloween, specifically Halloween. Christmas not so much, but Halloween's always the biggest year. And I remember that because of that, you'd always end up running out of candy, and you'd always have to have like thousands of bags of candy if you wanted to do candy. And luckily enough, there were never any like trickers. It was always just, trick-or-treaters and stuff. Let's get into the whole gist of this story. All right. So this was when Cody started doing more and more with his job, and so he was traveling more. And a lot of people in the car community would know that, like, the car version of Comic-Con or Anime Expo it's called SEMA. And Cody's company would work SEMA, and they would always want him to go out there. So for the past, say, about 3 Halloweens, I haven't been able to spend Halloween with Cody, which is always very depressing because, he's the man I love, my husband to be, and we would spend almost every Halloween together, but that's another story time in the making. But it was always very depressing when because he'd always find out last minute when he'd put it in advance. He's like, I would rather go on SEMA or I would rather not. Like, let me know. But they would never tell him in advance, even though he'd ask in advance. And so I remember one year Cody was gonna be gone, and my friend, I'll call her Chell. So Chell's husband was in the military, and he had just got deployed. So he wasn't going to be around either. And the people Chell was living with, they also were busy and not doing anything on Halloween. So she was alone on Halloween. I was alone on Halloween, and we thought, hey, why don't we be alone together? You know, we don't have to do anything. And my father-in-law was like, okay, well, if anybody comes over, they have to bring candy. And I told Chell that, and Chell was fine. It was no big deal. And I remember we were really excited. We had this all planned out. It was just going to be me and Chell because all my other friends were doing stuff. Again, Cody was gone. Her husband was gone. And we had never had this. We never had a lot of just us time. We were always like with other people or friends and stuff. So we were also excited for that. This was also, I remember, this was the year I got my license. So I was able to pick up Chell, so Chell wouldn't have to be the designated driver. She was always the DD, because out of our group of friends, she was the only one who could drive. And I know that always bothered her. So I remember being like, hey, I can pick you up, I can take you home, just pitch in for gas and get a bag of candy. You know, you can drink, we can watch movies, play games, chat, have a good time, right? And so she was all for it, you know, we were all good. I picked her up, we came back. And the start of things getting weird was my father-in-law went up to her and was like, hey, where's your costume? We were both like, costume? Well, we're not having a party. Like, why are we're not wearing costumes? And he was like, you're supposed to dress up like zombies. And we were both like, she looked at me like I had forgotten to talk to him. I'm like, no, this was news to me. I was like, I told my father-in-law, I'm like, we're not having a party. It's literally just Chell. I asked this in advance if I could have my friend over, you know? Because I'm polite. And when you live with somebody else, I like asking before I just do something. Even though I pay rent. But, that's not the point of the story. And so, my father-in-law was like, what are we gonna do for the front yard? Like, they hadn't set up. I remember this. They hadn't even set up. And we had told them, because they had a lot of Halloween decorations. We're like, you should set up, you know, not on Halloween, so that way you can enjoy it. And well, they didn't listen to us, and they were doing it the day of. So Chell gave my father-in-law the bag of candy, and he was like, oh, well, thank you for bringing back candy. And she was like, yeah, no problem. What the fuck? What's this zombie thing? Were we having a party? And I was like, if we are, I'm the first to hear about it too. So Cody's not here. Your husband's not here. I don't know what, Chell, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing, Chell. So we ended up helping out setting up because we had nothing else really much to do at the time. And so we helped set up the house and everything and get the outside done. And then it was fine. We had a great time. We were playing I think we were playing Mario Kart. We were chatting, catching up, venting. Chell was drinking. I had one drink. This was important because I wasn't going to take her home till later on in the night. So I was like, oh, I'll have a drink now and it'll be one drink. So by the time it's like, you know, midnight or 2 a.m., I'll be sober and I can drive you home. So we're having fun. It's all good and dandy. People are starting to show up, you know, and we kind of just meander off to the side room where we're watching movies and talking. And, you know, we both call our partners and we like, wish them happy Halloween. We love them. We miss them. And things are going really great. So then there's, you know, we're chatting about something, and Chell was venting about some pretty personal stuff, and I'm not going to share it, but, you know, we have to be there for our friends and everything, and I totally get it. I've needed that time. And so right when she was in the middle of this very important conversation, my father-in-law just bursts into the room, doesn't knock, nothing, and, like, she stops, and I stop, and we're like, is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, the other people are here, and we're like, what other people? And in comes a group of Cody's friends, which 2 of the people in that group make Chell very, very, very uncomfortable. And I was like, the fuck are you guys doing here? I can get along with Cody's friends, and a couple of them were my friends, but all in all, I'm very civil and polite, you know, but if we're not really friends and you make my friend upset, I'm not going to really be a perfect host, let alone people just showing up. And they were like, oh, well, you know, we're here for the party. And we're like, what party? There is no party. There hasn't been a party. And they're like, well, yeah, I just texted Cody saying we're on our way. And so then I call Cody, because now I'm pissed. And I call him and I'm like, hey, the fuck? Why are people here? Is there a party? And he's like, wait, why are they there? Like, even Cody was like, why are they there? And then one of his friends really rudely takes my phone from me and just starts talking to Cody, and they're laughing and laughing, and I'm just kind of like standing there like, the fuck? And then my father-in-law comes in and yells at me. He's like, well, you told them all to bring candy, right? And I'm like, I didn't know they were coming. I didn't invite them. I didn't plan on these people being here. I was planning on it just being me and Chell. That was the whole point. So now, like, Chell's uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. We had also just ordered food, because we had ordered food earlier for the two of us, not for a party of people. And then the person gives me back my phone, and Cody apologizes profusely. He was like, I didn't invite them for a party. They just said, like, hey man, what's up? And I said, Cody said something like, oh, not much, I'm just setting up. And Cody's like, I guess that made them think that I was setting up for a party that we didn't invite anyone to, because he didn't invite them. This is very important. Cody didn't invite them. Last Halloween he did, but he had to, I believe, leave last minute and had to cancel it, which he also did this time, but they showed up anyway. And so now me and Chell are upset and we're angry. And I'm sitting here like, you know what? I went and I asked Cody's uncle and I was like, hey, I really want to drink. I know, it's terrible, but you know what? I was of age and I'm like, I want to drink. My friend wants to drink. We're very uncomfortable here. Can you take Chell home? I'll go with you for the ride later on tonight. And he was like, yeah, no big deal. Like, he didn't care. And then my father-in-law insists on yelling at me because I didn't tell the people who I didn't invite that I should have told the people that I didn't invite and didn't know was coming to bring candy bags. And you know what? To their defense, this is one thing they offered that I will always say was a great thing. They were like, oh, okay, I'll go get candy, but can you pitch in for gas? Because I've said this 1,000 times before. My father-in-law's live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. So to get into town is a 30-minute drive from their house. So asking for gas, that's reasonable. Especially when they've driven. I know for a fact they drove for a long fuck way for a party they weren't invited to. And so my father-in-law was like, I'm not giving you money. You should just go. And they were like, well, can't afford the gas because I gotta go home. So if you can't give me the gas money, I can't go get candy. They were willing to buy the candy. They just needed gas money. And so then my father-in-law kind of hoots and hollers and does this and that. And, you know, we're trying to make the most of it. I'm drinking now. Chell's drinking harder. And we're just kind of, there was soda in the house, so we just kind of all split. Everyone was drinking. And you know what? It did end up being a good time. I'm not going to lie there. A lot of us were drinking, we were having fun. Chell was getting along with the people she didn't really get along with, and it wasn't like a fake getting along. We all took turns playing Mario Kart, because I literally only had 2 controllers. And we had a good time. We had a good time, right? But this is where it gets really important. So, we had all been drinking. So we were all drunk at this point. And that's one thing I can say that I am happy for with all of our friends whenever we have parties. Even when our friends get smash drunk, we don't have, like, those kind of drunk friends, if you know what I'm talking about. Where they, like, break stuff, they vomit on themselves, they, you know, they're just an asshole or, like, a sexual deviant to be around. We're all kind of happy drunk. So, you know, we're drinking, we're having a good time, and my father-in-law bursts in and goes to me. I have a drink in my hand, and I am very clearly drunk. And he goes, he's like, you need to go to the store and get more candy. And I say, I can't. I've been drinking. And, again, my friend pitched in, or not my friend, Cody's friend pitched in before and was like, hey, I haven't been drinking. I'm the DD. So if you want to give me gas money, I will go buy candy. And he said, no, Michelle, you need to go get candy. And I said, no, I am drunk. I am not driving. I'm never driving drunk. I have never driven drunk. That is a huge no to me. And I was getting pissed. Because I'm like, no, my dad runs a drinking and driving prevention website. I go and I talk for drinking and driving prevention. I'm actually very serious about this. Like, this isn't just a shameless plug thing for my dad's website. I am 100% serious. I cannot stand people who drink and drive. I think it's disgusting. I think you're a douchebaggy person. And I think in this day and age, there are so many ways to get around it that drinking and driving shouldn't even be a thing anymore. And my father-in-law knew that. Because at this time, Cody and I had been together, 8-9 years by the time this happened. So I'm like, no, I am not driving. I asked Uncle And he offered to take Chell home when the party was done, because now we're at a party. And in front of everyone, he said, I don't care. I want you to get a bag of candy. And I said, no. And I went to get Uncle. And I told Uncle what had happened. And Uncle got pissed at my father-in-law. I was like, she's drinking. Why do you want her to drive drunk? Why do you want her to drive drunk on Halloween? Why do you want to drive drunk when there are literally thousands of kids running around this neighborhood on this one night? I'll go and get candy. And he's like, I don't know why you didn't even ask me. And Chell looked at me and was like, he didn't even ask his husband? He wanted you, the one who's been drinking, to drive in front of everybody and didn't care. And that was when a lot of my friends, and in that moment Cody's friends, realized that a lot of the stuff we said about my father-in-law are true. And it really soured the mood. I stopped drinking, but I was so mad because he was serious. He was serious that he wanted me to drink and drive to get a bag of candy because they had run out, when my friend, who I had invited, brought a bag of candy, who lived there, bought a bag of candy, and I even pitched in some money for them to buy another bag of candy when they wanted to go. But no, that didn't matter. That didn't matter at all. And it was really hard to save the party after that because a lot of people were like sobered up real quick and were just like, oh, okay. So everybody, we stopped drinking. I think we just watched a movie, and then they went home, and then the neighborhood started to die down. So Uncle offered to take Chell home, and Chell was like, you're going to come with me, right? And I'm like, no shit. I want to get out of this fucking house. So I went with Chell and took her home. And when we were on the drive back, Uncle apologized profusely for my father-in-law. But I didn't care because this moment was solidified in my brain forever that, again, they would rather have me drink and drive on Halloween with thousands of kids running around the neighborhood than a person who was willing to go, who hadn't been drinking, if you just pitched in some gas. Because they weren't going to give me any money. I was expected to use my gas and my money to buy that stupid candy when I'd already bought in a bag. So yeah, it's not a good note. That was by far the worst Halloween I'd ever had. I had party crashers. I had inconsiderate people. I had liars around me. And I'm happy to say I haven't had a terrible Halloween since. But that is the story of my very worst Halloween. I know some people have had much worse, but to me that always burns just a little bit remembering about it. So I know it's a weird way to start off, but don't drink and drive this time of year, guys. Don't be fucking idiots. And as always, I will see you next time. Bye.